9 years, huh, Colin?
9 years. That's a long time.
Woo! It is a long time. It makes me feel kind of old.
Eh, we started young.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Hippocratic Collective. Check out all our shows and content at hippocratic-collective.com. We have a very exciting guest today. It's Colin. You guys know Colin, probably at this point. And yeah, September 14th is our anniversary. We are celebrating 9 years together.
Well, to be clear, this is like one of many anniversaries. This is not really an anniversary that probably most people celebrate.
Dating? Yeah. Literally, because
Do you think most people keep track of like their first date and then have that as an anniversary date? I don't think most people do that.
I have no idea. I don't know what other people are doing, but I
I
will
think once
say,
I think once you get married, then people they move on. They move to marriage anniversary, and then just say like, we've been together 10 years or something.
I'm never going to grow up. I'm not going to stop celebrating like the dating anniversary because literally it was September 14th. It was a Wednesday in 2016 that we had our first date at Jed's Sports Bar, now defunct in Nashville.
Yeah, and so this is basically one of, I guess, 3 anniversaries that we celebrate, and then a lot of that's wrapped around your birthday.
September
4
has
to
always
5 major milestones a year.
Yeah, I mean, but also part of it is just like, I'm not going to say no to an occasion to party and celebrate and like also appreciate the life that we've built. So,
Well, and if you listened to our previous podcast about Frances May and her points game and stuff, that is a hidden secret. She just always, I mean, in this case, it's true. We are just like celebrating a number of these anniversaries throughout the trip, or did, but that's also like one of her tricks is she's just always telling nice hotels that like we're celebrating something. That's a good way to
but
like
it's
get
true.
upgrades and free stuff.
Yeah, but it's true because I'll just be like, it's our anniversary. It's always like at least one of our anniversaries or one of our birthday months, or I'm celebrating a new job. It's kind of all true. Like, hopefully they don't catch me. Hopefully they haven't like found my pod and are now going to catch me and be like, that's crazy. Like, she is redeeming like an awful lot of birthday celebrations.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think that this really was a pro tip, genuinely. So for anyone out there in residency, we got engaged. So here's why it all happened very nicely. My birthday is September 25th. Colin and I met on September 14th, so we celebrated that, of course, for many years as like our sole anniversary. We got engaged on September 24th. And that was great. In terms of, I feel like people are going to wonder, they're going to be like, that's crazy. So Colin really came up with this whole thing, and how do you know to surprise you on that day? I think I strongly implied that I would like to be on the receiving end of an engagement proposal on that day. I wouldn't even say I suggested that I wanted to be surprised. I actually don't care for surprises that much. We even, I feel like we should talk a little bit about how we even approach like gifting and holidays at this point. But with the engagement, I totally am happy with like the move that I did, which is to insist that we just get engaged on my birthday eve. That meant that for the rest of like my training and working years in the hospital, I never worked that week. Like, I always took PTO, and that way my birthday, like our engagement anniversary, all very close to our dating anniversary, we just got to like go and get away for a week, have it be totally protected, and like celebrate us.
It's definitely convenient to have them grouped together. Oh, I mean, interestingly, maybe a little short-sighted because that was definitely like a residency trait. Well, I suppose even if you had continued in clinical medicine, it still would have been pretty useful because you have to like group stuff together then.
Yeah.
Now it's like we can travel whenever we want, but
I know,
it's
but
still
now
nice
I
to like
also,
group
I
them together.
celebrate every day now. Like, now I'm like, I just travel and I drink a glass of champagne because I'm celebrating my freedom. Like, no, it's really nice. And like, this is why September is my sabbatical month. Like, it just makes sense for all the things that I want to be present for and reflect on and things like that. But I love that girls being involved in and aware of their own engagement is now, I think, not that big of a deal. When we did it, how long ago was that? 7 years. So 7 years ago, he proposed. That was not widely accepted back then. I feel like I pretended to be like, yeah, that's crazy. Like Colin just knew everything I wanted, and I'm so particular, and that would be extraordinary. I don't think that there's any guy that could correctly have like just predicted all of that. What do you think?
No, but I think most people, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I think in a lot of cases, either maybe they're just not that particular, or they don't specifically say what they want, or maybe just don't have like as strong of an opinion. So like they'd rather just have it out of their hands. But yeah, I mean, there was no way I would have like gotten all of the details correct. And you were extremely particular. So that would not have, we'd have had to like do it over again. If I had like tried to surprise something, I think we would have literally had to have a do over.
I just don't like surprises. I really do not care for it. And yeah, I had a specific vision for all sorts of things about it. And, um, you know, I think that the person that I was 7 years ago, back then at the time of engagement, that person makes me now look like type B. So yeah, but that's what I love about like more of the modern day. It's true that like, I mean, I don't know that many girls that were like floored by the proposal, right? Like in 2025, it is a joint agreed upon thing. And then I get that for a lot of people, like the details of it can be a fun surprise. Like, oh, could it be this trip or could it be this trip? And I don't know, I guess people just kind of try and keep their nails done all the time. But I also was just not about that life. And especially because we got engaged PGY 2 year of residency, like I had no control over most of my life. This was a very like wonderful time. I will, like, if there are people out there listening and they're like, no, but like the charm is how usually like you fight a little bit beforehand. Guess what? We did fight a little bit beforehand. So that's even possible when it's mutually agreed upon and planned out.
Yeah, I feel like I think it's probably pretty anxiety inducing for anyone if you're just kind of like waiting around, like, is this trip going to be the one? Like, is that going to happen? Like, just seems kind of unnecessary. Um, I feel like it should just be like, okay, it's happening this trip or this weekend or whatever, and
Yeah.
then maybe we can surprise within that. Like that seems more appropriate.
Yeah, but I had really wanted to get golden hour, so that's what we fought about. Like, I just was like, all right, clock's ticking on this very specific golden hour on this specific day. And the one thing that I had left up to you, the one thing was the photographer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to tell it from your perspective?
Yeah, we were having dinner. We are staying at a place on like the main coast.
Yeah, in
And
Algonquin.
yeah. Um and so I had done a lot of like looking around at local photographers and stuff like that. But I just kind of didn't, I don't know, nothing really seemed to make sense. And I did want something that was like still a little spontaneous, but I didn't make it clear like what the plan was. So I just said, yeah, there's a photographer. And then you assumed that it was going to be like before dinner, and then there was no photographer that showed up, and you thought I was just going to get like the hotel photographer or something. So you were pretty upset, and we had to snag like a valet guy or something to like take pictures right before dinner. And I kind of just let you believe that like it wasn't gonna be how you wanted it to be. I mean, I think I was saying like, don't worry, we got it. But I think
I
you were,
was very worried.
yeah, you were kind of like, oh no, it's going poorly because dinner was like pretty tense. You were like not thrilled.
It was a tense dinner.
It's also kind of a fancy restaurant, and you didn't really eat anything on the menu.
That exacerbated it. I'm sure I was
Yeah.
like just also hungry. And yeah, they serve like mostly seafood. And so I ate. I remember I
We
ate
had like a
or
cheese
I
plate.
glared at, yeah, like the charcuterie. So
Yeah,
I
but you didn't
just,
like the specific cheese or something. I don't remember what it was, um, but I had a whole setup with my sister and brother-in-law. Him and his brother had like a little photography business going, so I had them set up where
shout
they
out to Beck Photography.
yeah, I don't know if that's still around, but they were gonna be set up on either side of the cliff. This is like a very dramatic cliff setting. So we had a specific spot picked out. I told them we were gonna be down there. Dinner was finishing at whatever 6:30 or something. And so they were already in place, and I was like kind of texting my sister like under the table, trying to keep it sneaky. And I led you down the cliff. This is very, especially when you get down to the water, like the water's
Yeah,
like
onto the
lapping
cliffs,
up onto the
not
rocks.
paved. I
Yeah.
was wearing stilettos, 4-inch heels.
I had to give you my jacket because it was like pretty cold. The ring was literally in the jacket pocket. You didn't even notice. You were like pretty out of it at that point. Like you were just holding on to the ring.
I
You
did
had no
not
idea.
know. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. You were just kind of like, I think you had just sort of felt a little defeated, and then I think you came around as it was like happening. You weren't like glaring at
Yes,
me
no,
as I
it
was
was a very
proposing.
sweet proposal. I feel like I had to suspend my disbelief. But I mean, I just wasn't even, yeah. When you were proposing, it was beautiful. It was romantic. It was like exactly what, even nicer than I had dreamed of, because Colin's back was to the ocean. It was like golden hour towards the end, like setting over the ocean. It was gorgeous. I was like on a little bit of an uneven rock, but I thought that your proposal was so sweet.
Yeah, and then we finished up and started walking back up towards the stairs, and then my sister and brother-in-law and his brother like came down, and then you were like, oh my god, like what, like you didn't really know what was going on. You just thought they kind of showed up to party, and I was like, no, that
I was like, were you guys
Eric
just
over
happened
there
to be
taking
here?
pictures.
Yeah, but like talk about the rigid thinking, because, that didn't occur to me. They don't live, like, I suppose, that far from the location. In part, that I don't know how close stuff in New England is to each other. So they could have been like 5 hours away. Like, I just,
No, they're like 40 minutes away.
that's crazy.
Eric was like 10 minutes away.
So it totally worked out. But I mean, again, yeah, there can be like a lot of stress surrounding a proposal, and we still got to have our, our lovers quarrel prior to it. And then and you even said like you were still pretty nervous. I don't feel like there was this, like it was so agreed upon and you were still really nervous. What was it like?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, once I knew like they were there and in place for the pictures and everything, I think I was like feeling pretty confident, because I was like, I just got to get you down there, and that was maybe not going to happen at some point. It was a little touch and go, but as soon as you kind of were like, okay, we'll go along with it, then I was like, it's fine, it's going to come around here, it'll be worth it. I was a little nervous just to like actually do it, because it was out literally in the ocean. It's kind of a whole thing. You got one shot. Had memorized my speech. Thought it went pretty well.
That's so nice. No, it went very well. I honestly thought you were going to say I was nervous because it's a big commitment and you were insane.
Oh, no.
But no, I really appreciate, I just feel like looking back on the 9 years, like I think what's cool about us is that we have lived so many lives together. Like I recognize a little bit of the person that I was 7 years ago at engagement, a little bit of the person from 9 years ago when we met. But I think that I have probably changed more than you have changed.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
You're furrowing your brow at me, like, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've both changed a lot, but yes, I would say yours is a little more dramatic.
Mine was dramatic. Mine was like a villain to NPC. I'd settle for like NPC, but I was kind of on like a pure villain track when Colin scooped me up.
Yeah, I've like cleaned my act up a little bit, maybe, but yeah, you're like kind of a different person.
Exactly. No, I mean, Colin was rough around the edges when we met. He had never had like a serious girlfriend, and he was rough around the edges in a way that, like, at that age, I don't know. I hadn't seen a ton of that. I was like, oh wow, you're like not domesticated in some like very normal ways, but interestingly, that is very superficial. Like I just feel like I just was like, you can't like check out other girls in front of me. I don't want to see that. We're dating now. And I feel like I just, after like a few weeks, you sorted out that like incredibly wild habit.
I'm not going to admit to that on the podcast, but yeah, I mean, you had very sort of specific and obviously you're not afraid to express the things that you want. So it was relatively easy for me in terms of like, oh, okay, if I just like do X, Y, and Z, then that'll make you happy. Um, it was kind of all the other stuff, just learning how to navigate within, you know, your sort of different
My different
moods
world,
and
one like my world that just was not congruent with the outer world. Yeah, that's what I was navigating. But I do feel like it's just interesting. Again, especially back then, I couldn't tell what was a big deal or not. Obviously, I didn't think that that was a deal breaker. I was like, you have to clean up your act in this list of ways. I do give pretty specific feedback, and I feel like I'm really consistent too. Like, I would not say I'm a flip-flopper, like my feedback does not change. They were really superficial things because you were always inherently this person who is like very loving and generous and kind. Like, I do think even when I hear about stories from before me, we'll call that before FM, BFM, like, I do think that you were always that way. And so just superficial habits are like very modifiable when the person has bought in and they're like, that sounds good. Like, I'm willing to, compromise and do what it takes to make you happy. Whereas, like I said, some of my inner workings were like not amenable to even a healthier long-term relationship. So that is why I had to change a lot more. And especially in recent years, it's not a coincidence that like the past couple years of self-discovery, self-knowledge have also directly correlated with me being like a more even-keeled person and a better partner and all these things. Not to brag, a much better partner now. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I'm pretty sure I'm a much better partner now.
yeah, I think early on I had not. Well, interestingly, I would say I probably had spent a decent amount of time with people somewhat similar to you, but I had not been like in a relationship or, um, tried to seriously coexist with them. So I could like recognize a lot of this stuff, but I didn't know how to help you work through things. Like I didn't have the language for it, and I also think it just wasn't going to work necessarily coming from me, and there wasn't a ton of other outlets for you. So a lot of it, I feel like for me was just trying to, keep you sane. And then it was like, well, yeah, we'd love to work through some of this other stuff, but it's not the right time or space for it.
Yeah, I mean, not the load-bearing neuroses up front, and I do think that you've even admitted, like, you were just kind of, those early residency years, we had been dating 6 months when match day happened, and we signed a lease the next week. So we were living together by, 8 or 9 months, and you said that you were just, like, experimenting. You were like, I'm not sure. She's reacting this way here. Maybe it will, like, placate her. I feel like and I know you don't take notes, so I'm sure you did not have a note system for this, but like just an internal gestalt, mostly running on vibes of like, it worked okay when I tried to mollify her with this, and then like, this one did not work. We're probably not going to employ that one. I think that it would help people to hear about what you were looking for in a partner, because I do think that, like, I would not ask anybody ask of anyone what was really asked of you in this case, because I mean, it was just like years of like cohabiting with a person who was maybe very complicated and quite dark. That's really tough. That would be a hard sell, to be like, after several years they'll get to like an okay place and be all right and still not help out at home. Like, I just think that what you were looking for was really unique. And so I think that some of that language would be helpful, the thought process, for people to know why it's possible.
I wouldn't say I was looking for anything specific, but I had kind of made my mind up at that point that I just wasn't gonna do anything serious unless I could pretty quickly see really long-term future with the relationship, I suppose. Um, which I don't know, maybe like bad advice in some cases. I feel like we hear like people on The Bachelor say that type of thing, and it's like, come on, just like try some stuff. But it
No,
wasn't that I wasn't
you
dating
were
or
trying stuff. Yeah.
yeah. But I would say mostly I just wanted someone that I found like very interesting and could talk to, and also someone that was interested in things and growing, right? I specifically did not want something that was like, okay, this will be a relationship where we have a lot of fun for 3 years and then it just kind of flatlines and then you just sort of do whatever and kind of, zombie walk through the rest of your life. That is like really what I was trying to stay away from. So with you, that was definitely not going to be an issue. I don't think there was ever a case where it was like, okay, all of a sudden you're just going to like snap into a
Just be
different person.
boring.
Yeah. So I very much was like, it's funny because we're watching Foundation together now, which for anyone who doesn't know, it's this classic old sci-fi story. It's one of my favorite series of books, and the sort of prevailing thing throughout is this thing called psychohistory, which is taking this really long, millions of years sort of look at like humanity and groups of people. So it's not exactly applicable to this, but that's kind of how I was approaching it in a way, which was like, all right, I'm really looking at this long term, and I'm just going to kind of like, invisible hand sort of tweak stuff over time, because I consider myself just a pretty patient person, and I'm not that worried about putting up with tough stuff in the interim. So I could tell it was going to be, rocky at times, but I was like, I think, at your core, you're still just like a very nice, loving person, and you're very like dedicated to the things that you're into. So I didn't see any issues with, oh, this thing's going to fizzle out or whatever. Like I could tell that you were bought in. And so, just seemed like,
Yeah, I'm loyal. I'm trustworthy, I would say. Like I care a lot about being an honest person, and I think that obviously like goes a long way in dating.
yeah, for sure. And it was, a nice change of pace too, just trying to like date in Nashville with just like, tons of young people coming in and out all the time.
So
But
yeah,
I mean, you were a very unique person. Obviously, it was something where I was like, I feel like if I let this go and I don't make it work, I'm going to regret it. And that was the kind of like, okay, well that feels like that means I got to make it work.
oh, you're going to make me cry, but that's very nice, and like, kudos to you cuz you did make it work. And I really think like those first 4 years, maybe, hard to remember even some of that back then, but I mean, yeah, I think that you were the one making it work for several years, like maybe 3 to 4. I just totally credit you, and like you just have a lot better foresight than I do, cuz I was just like um I think very hurt and like always running around like a chicken with its head cut off. So like I think you made it work then, and it's crazy because as part of like the whole healing journey, I just feel like I had some suboptimal relationships and stuff like that beforehand. Like obviously coming in with baggage, I don't feel like you came in with that much baggage because you were just chilling. You just were more casually dating, and I don't think that you had that much. So like sorting through my baggage and things like that, I just kind of feel like maybe after 4 to 5 years, if that, maybe after 5 years, I really felt like something shifted to where I was like, I don't feel like you're going to leave. And that's crazy. People at home might be like screaming like, what a fool. Like that is crazy. But I'm not sure that I ever felt, and that's on me, not because like you weren't showing how committed you were, but I just feel like at the 4 to 5 year mark, I was able to. And of course, I was like reading a lot and trying to learn on the side of like, okay, just look at this person has like shown up every day for you for 4 years. that seems pretty good. Like, as an evidence-based person, there's a lot of evidence that this is like pretty solid and that we could settle in and feel good about it. And so, um, I do think that that I adore you. Like, yeah, I've always been very devoted, but I feel like past devotion, just the realities of being able to make something work, like it took me much longer to get to that point. Not because I didn't want to be, just because I didn't have like, skills, and obviously all sorts of stuff was going on professionally. But I think that that's really special. And one quote that I want to bring up, just because, so now this sets the record straight. So people know, what was Colin looking for when we met and he wanted to date me, right? Because like I don't cook or clean or help out that much, and I wasn't overly reasonable. So kind of all of the traits that you would classically think somebody's looking for, those were never on his list. I will say that all these years, distill it down to its core, he's really only ever said interesting. Main thing that I wanted, that I looked for, that I want to be like tied to forever is like the most interesting person. And that's why we really found each other, because I feel good about my ability to deliver in that arena.
Yeah, that's just sort of inherent to who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, the main, like, while you maybe didn't identify for a long time, just all the things that you were kind of dealing with, I found a lot of it somewhat obvious, and it wasn't something I could like help you change
Yeah, I'm
immediately.
not going to tell you.
Well, no, but like I then I didn't really take anything personally, which I feel like then when you were sort of ready to address and open up, it wasn't like, ooh, well, you got to answer for all this stuff. I was just like, oh, great, okay, you're ready to move on, which I was too. It wasn't that I was expecting something in return or an apology, because I could just see what
I gave you like
you
your
brought to the
first
table, and
apology like 3 years ago.
yeah, but like I just understood the things that you had gone through, and um, you know, the things that, again, yeah, you didn't even really know you were dealing with, and how you kind of reacted to things. So
Yeah. No, that's such a good point. That's a really good like tip, I actually think, for people to hear about the not taking it personally, because I used to lash out a lot. Like, I don't think I do that much anymore, or at least if I do, I can recognize it immediately. Like, I can see that now. I have that space even between, right, like the stimulus and the response. And I just didn't. Really niche but relevant shout out is the show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which we still put on some nights, like during dinner. I will just be like, can we put therapy on? That's what I call it. I say, put therapy on. We put on an episode of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. And like when I first showed it to him 6 years ago, I was like, oh, this show's pretty good. Like, it was funny when it was on the CW. And it's like, and it's about Josh.
yeah, it is not for anyone who hasn't seen the show or is interested to learn everything about Frances May. If you do watch that, it's almost like a 1-to-1. I
Like
mean,
beat
not a
for
lot of it.
beat.
Yeah,
It's
not
like
like
an
the plot points specifically,
autobiographical. I
but
mean,
yeah, just some of them in like an alternate universe. But yeah, it's you and Rebecca
Rebecca
Bloom
Bunch. Yeah,
Bunch
yeah.
is her character
Yeah,
name.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
quite
So,
similar.
but that's what I mean. It's just, it is funny because obviously the whole time Colin puts that on his list of favorite shows. Like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is a good show. It's one of his favorites, but he, from pretty early on, was like, this show is about you. And I was like, no. So, I think that's really beautiful. And then the other key, like I put this in my advice for Love on Call at the Hippocratic Collective. I just really do think that picking someone as a life partner who you get on with. And I feel like I don't even know prior relationships. I wasn't always like looking for that. I'm not sure I understood how important it was. So I'm very lucky. I attribute a lot of our success at this 9-year mark to genuinely getting on. The mutual respect that comes with that, sure, but it still feels easy. Like I used to talk, like at the 7-year, I kept asking him about the 7-year slump, and he was like, no, I feel good. And it really, I mean, if anything, 7 years was like where we really took off and a lot of interesting new things happened.
Yeah, I do just think like the person you want to spend all your time with. That is the number one factor, because if you're just avoiding people, if that is even remotely part of it at the start or early on, like it's just going to keep growing and you're just going to eventually be kind of living separate lives.
One quote that I love, so this is Glennon Doyle from Untamed. She's talking about her partner, Abby. I love how our life together is one eternal conversation that we put on pause only to sleep. And I love that. I found it so moving when I read it in Untamed, and I feel that way about Colin. Like, just yesterday, we talk before work, some mix of personal and business, because we also do work together in a capacity now at the Hippocratic Collective. He worked all day, usually we touch base at lunch. And then he drove home like an hour in traffic. And we talked on the phone the entire time. And then we hung out the entire night after. And it was just like a treat. We don't talk on the phone, every day when you're coming home, but I feel like it was a nice way to debrief about business. I just never get sick of talking to you. It is crazy because I actually still feel like I contact you as much as I would contact anyone who I had just met and really liked who I was dating. I know that you feel like maybe you could receive fewer emails from me and fewer texts because I'll be like, "What's up? Sandwich time." But I think that that's really incredible because I do want to feel that way about the person who I'm with.
It has stayed very steady over all 9 years. I wouldn't say there's ever really been a drop off.
No, no. And I will share with you guys my favorite thing that any therapist has ever said to anyone is you can't outsource your rational brain to X other person. And so I did used to do that, especially during the years I was really struggling, right? Again, I've been pretty open. I was really, really struggling for some of the middle years, and I outsourced my rational brain to you more. I know that I don't want to be a person who's dependent on that. So I actually feel like that's gotten a lot better. And that actually means that some of our chit chat time is just more fun and random stuff. But we've always been talking about fun and random stuff. And the last quick tip I want to give people, this has helped a lot. Colin mentioned that early on, he didn't have language for dealing with some of the stuff I was going through. I didn't have language for some of the stuff I was going through. Every time that I did find a book that really got it right, and you can help me with examples. I would say, The Courage to Be Disliked is a more recent one. What's the Holly Whitaker book?
Well, that's about
Quit Like a
drinking.
Woman.
Yeah.
No, I know, but it had such a poignant view, I think, of the current modern female experience. Quit Like a Woman. I'm just saying, all of these books.
You used to read more intense ones. You would read The Body Keeps the Score and
Body Keeps the Score, Talking or Thinking Fast and Slow, books like that. I just feel like if I read it and it really resonated with me, oh my gosh, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. That's one where it really resonated with me or it gave me new definition and language. Then I would pass the book on to Colin. This goes back to some of my other core fundamental foundational advice, which is to marry somebody who reads. So I would pass the book on him and I'd be like, hey, I did really like this book. And I actually think it will give us language to mutually understand each other more. And I actually think reading The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime helped me understand me more. But then it was so great to give that book to Colin and be like, you got to hear about this. Because I have not been able to articulate various things about my inner world. Right. And especially in the early years, Colin just saw an external breakdown of coping skills. Right.
yeah. And I think what we do well too is we try and share, which I'm sure a lot of couples do, right? Where you share, okay, this is something I was interested in, or this is something I like, but we then really try and break it down. I feel like if I show you a movie or something, whether or not you like it, you ask me, okay, what about it? What do you like? What should I take away from this? And so then we sort of use those as jumping off points of just continuing to get to know each other even deeper, which I think is just a nice way to do it, other than having to sit down and ask weird prying questions or play some card game that prompts you.
This goes back, though, to even trust, and especially with where I was coming from. The level of trust that we have, I didn't even know was possible. I trust you now, especially as a picky eater, right? Who wasn't eating anything up until recently. Like, I do feel like early on in dating, you just really never rushed me on food. I feel like I told you I wanted Chick-fil-A nuggets for, I don't know, 8 months in a row, and you just never, I mean, you never questioned it. You never blinked an eye. You let me eat all the pepperonis off of a slice of pizza. Like, just never questioned it. But I feel like you were listening. And so you didn't take issue with it. You were listening. You saw what stuff I liked and didn't like. And that meant that a few years ago, maybe 3 to 4 years ago, when you were like, I really do think you'd like tacos, like for kind of these reasons. And I was like, oh, I'm side-eyeing you. But like the level of trust now is built up to the point where you could tell me, I do think that you will like this food or drink. And I could really be looking at it like this has like an octopus eye. But I really trust you. I mean, please do not ask me to eat an octopus eye, but I'm saying like I would probably give one bite genuinely to whatever food you recommend, and no one else in my life has ever held that esteemed position. And it's the same thing with movies because yeah, we've had a lot of fun watching movies together and we like very different movies, but when you come to me and you say, I think you should watch this movie, it's not always because I will like the movie. And in fact, I do not like many, but I definitely get something out of watching all of them. But that's why it's really helpful because you're like, I think you got to watch this movie. Then we'll debrief. We can see how it relates to some other like concepts that we've been noodling on. And that's great. The only movie, and I will die on this hill, that I got nothing out of and hate is, do you know?
Country for Old Men.
Hated it.
But I knew you wouldn't like that one. I actually
you
was
didn't
trying
invite me to watch
I was
it.
trying to watch that by myself, and you insisted
I was
that you
playing
watch
my
it. And I was
game.
like, I don't think you're gonna like it.
You're so right. But that's what I mean. That exactly actually illustrates my principle because you're right. Like, I think that you are just batting 100. I'm not sure you've ever shown me anything or invited me to do anything that like I then didn't like. So I trust you. You know me. You've earned that trust. So I'm pretty much down now. But that is what has opened up like a lot of possibilities, I think, for me as a person and then for us jointly. Yeah, No Country for Old Men. I was playing my video game on the couch and then you put it on. But honestly, it was captivating in the sense that it was so weird and creepy that I was like, what is
It's
this?
very unnerving. There's no music, so it's very like
and there's no
tense the whole
dialogue.
time. Yeah.
And there's no music. And I was like, what is this? And then that guy is so scary. And I just hated it. I thought it was like a movie for boys by boys. I was like, this is trash. We watched Tar together recently. Really liked that. Anyway, okay. Well, I digress. I think that a lot of these concepts, like not saying that we have anything figured out, and a lot of people have been together a lot longer than 9 years, but I'm just proud of what we've built, and I do definitely hope that like other people can identify with liking their partner this much, even after quite some time, the temporal 7-year slump era, things like that.
Yeah. I just think probably for any women that are listening who are like, oh, I'm still trying to find someone. I just think being very direct and saying what you want and kind of taking control of the situation as much as possible. Like, I just think most guys they're going to appreciate that, even if they kind of like grumble or don't want to go along with it in the moment. Like, there's no reason not to, I guess. Like, just trying to, play it cool or just accept what's coming your way. I just don't think it's going to set you up in the best position. And also, because like I feel like with us, the give and take is a little bit like you sometimes, put more up front. You do a lot of the planning. You sort of, research and get everything together. And then I sort of give more of the 50% on the back end, and I support you behind the scenes, and I kind of let you go down these different paths and try things out. So like, I feel like at the end of the day, we kind of do make it 50-50, but you get to, go further in the things you like. And then I get to kind of go further in the things that I like and am comfortable with.
Yeah, that's very true. I appreciate that. I do believe fundamentally, like, we both bring a lot to the table, but I agree. It's just, I think that anyone could, like, look at our life and then be like, she's definitely not bringing any of the, like, traditional wife stuff to the table. And I'm glad that, like, I have a partner who has no qualms with that, and, like, I still feel very seen.
Yeah. Doesn't bother me.
Okay.
You're not good at dishes anyway, so better that I do it.
Okay. This episode, hopefully you don't think I'm soft now. I'm not. I'm still a shark. I feel like I didn't show it because I almost cried. But thank you for being here today. Thank you for tuning in with us. I wish this for everyone listening, and we're excited to continue to share the journey. Thank you for tuning in today. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at FrancisMayMD. Check out our website, hippocratic-collective.com, for more shows and content like this. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Till next time.
Woo.